It's official. I'm long XRP once again. Why? Because I know what comes out on the other side of this storm, and it is absolutely beautiful for XRP and our other utility digital assets. I'm wearing it on my shirt today. Check it out. See what happens is we're finishing up our passage through the storm. On the other side of this thing, it is clear blue skies, and the ship is called Perseverance. Either you're on the ship with us, or you're going to be watching from the sidelines, and I think that you're going to be regretting that decision, because XRP, although it's coming back down right now with the rest of the markets, as we warned about, what would it take for XRP to go below $2? Iran would have to shut off the Strait of Hormuz. Now, their parliament has just voted to do so. It now heads to their Security Council, or a higher level council, I guess, for final approval. But this is the threat and the reason why the markets are falling here this Sunday morning. XRP back below $2 and Bitcoin below 100,000. I entered an XRP long yesterday, and I just doubled down on it here today. Here's the full update for you guys. Let's get right on into it. I appreciate you for stopping by. All of our community resources are at zachrector.com. Greatly appreciate your support. And for crying out loud, don't wait till it's too late. I saw like so many requests come in over the past 24 hours to buy precious metals. Guys, don't wait till the sucker's already ripping. It's days like today when we got blood in the streets when we're supposed to be buying, not when we're shooting up to all-time highs. But hey, I understand why we're getting our defensive measures intact with the precious metals while we are still making offensive moves when it comes to our digital asset portfolio. But let's get through the current events. Iran's parliament approves closing of the Hormuz Strait. The decision now requires final approval from the country's top security body. So, on this news that the parliament approved closing off the Strait of Hormuz, which accounts for 20% of our worldwide oil flow going through that strait every single day. If this gets shut down, oil is going to spike. It's going to cause some problems. And so the market not liking this. And of course, stock market's closed, the futures market's closed right now. So the only thing trading, the only game in town is cryptocurrency. So we're going to continue to watch this. I have to note here from David Hookstead, it is impressive. God bless our troops. Tonight was the first time that B-2 stealth bombers have ever faced modern air defense systems, and Iran didn't get a single shot off. They didn't even detect it. The B-2 is 30 years old and more advanced than anything our enemies can build in 2025. American engineering is undefeated, and great, huge shout out to our troops. Whether you agree with it or not, the military that we have here is a powerful, powerful military. And just the fact that we're rolling out here and doing things like this that no other military could do with 30-year-old technology. Just imagine what they're hiding, right? The B-2 is what they're willing to show us from 30 years ago. I say that while I also acknowledge that I am continuing to pray for peace, and I do not want to see an escalation in this war. But boy, oh boy, do our troops, they got some incredible military equipment at their disposal, and we spend so much money on it too. Hate to see us use it, but I'm glad that we have it. Praying for our troops, praying for peace. I don't want to see an escalation, but this is what brought us back below 100,000 for Bitcoin and back below $2 for XRP. And as I've been describing, what can you do? You set your limit orders, you wait for them to be filled, and we pray in the meantime. That's what I've been doing over this weekend. And this morning, my next XRP long order was activated. I'll get to that in just one moment. I wanted to share here, though, this is the Vivo Power, the group that was going to do a $121 million investment in XRP. Remember, this is one of the public companies here that's going to add XRP as a corporate treasury. They just announced yesterday the first phase of a $60.5 million investment completed. So they have another $60 million to raise, but they did the first half. And that investment is led by Prince, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, Al Saud, and includes a consortium of non-U.S. investors. So we got a prince from Saudi Arabia who is helping to lead this investment round. So we're going to continue to watch this. One of many companies that is now adding XRP as a treasury. And what a perfect time to buy, right? They raised this 60 million, they get to deploy it while XRP's back below $2. So that's what I'm doing. That's what these guys are doing. It's what the smart money is doing right now. is they're buying the blood in the streets because they know that a V-shaped recovery awaits us on the other side of this. Just like during March 2020, just during FTX, Luna, all these big crashes that we've had in these markets were always the best times to buy. And that's where we're at right now. It is another incredible buying opportunity for those who can take advantage of it. I understand if you're tapped out. This inflation's no joke. This economy is abysmal. I've been talking about this economy being in a recession since 2022 and experiencing depressed growth for the better part of a decade. But now we have to understand, what's the solution? Turning that money printer back on, lowering interest rates, big beautiful bill. You add the stablecoin bill, you add the market structure bill. These are macro catalysts that move asset prices up. But then when we hone in specifically on XRP, what are the next dominoes to fall? Well, that would be the SEC versus Ripple case, which I believe that we're going to hear from Judge Torres this week on. And then the next one's going to be the spot ETFs going live. But just as a reminder, because I'm seeing a lot of confusion out there, this is James Phelan on June 12th. And he shares the SEC and Ripple, the parties have renewed their request for an indicative ruling, and that's a settlement. So the first settlement offer that they sent to Judge Torres, she denied for procedural impropriety. Improper filing, not the proper procedure. Judge Torres denies the settlement agreement between the SEC and Ripple. And then last Monday, not in Judge Torres' court in the Second Circuit, but in the Court of Appeals, that they were due for an update in the Court of Appeals. So on Monday, you saw the SEC request to delay and buy more time till August. So everybody's running around saying the case is delayed till August. No, it's not. That's at the Court of Appeals. And they set that as a placeholder date so that we can await for Judge Torres to make her decision. And that decision's going to come this week. So I hope you guys are ready for that one. We saw Judge Torres, it took her 7 days. They filed the first settlement agreement for indicative ruling on May 8th. She ruled on May 15th denying it. So it only took her 1 week to deny it. Well, this is June 12th, so we're already 10 days into this. Tomorrow will be day 11. We'll be into week 2 next week. And this is why I'm predicting that Judge Torres is going to give us an answer and a response this coming week. So if we see the bottom come in, Strait of Hormuz gets shut down, a little escalation in this conflict, that would mark our bottom. And just like I said, on the other side of this thing, we finish our passage through the storm. This is the final card that they have to play, this Iran-Israel war. Remember, we were told they were going to save Israel for last. If you know, you know what I'm talking about. We're going to save Israel for last. So we're watching this fold out. This is the last card. And this week, we get to hear from Judge Torres whether or not she agrees on this settlement agreement. And that's a specific catalyst to XRP on top of that broader macro picture. Why? Which is exactly why, you know, we're continuing to pray for peace, but we're sitting back and just letting the orders be filled with absolute conviction, zero doubt about what happens on the other side of this thing. And I'm expressing that by going long XRP, like I said. So let's go to the XRP chart right now. Yesterday, I bought in at 203. I had an XRP long order sitting at 203 that had been sitting there since June 5th. Finally got filled. And I told my Discord group yesterday, okay, first order's been filled. I'm setting my second buy order for another XRP long at $1.94. Guess which level we went exactly down to? $1.93. $1.94 on the Coinbase futures. Perfectly down to my target, order filled. I front ran the move to $2, and then I front ran that move to $1.94. Now, we still could go lower. Strait of Hormuz actually gets shut down. Escalation in the war. We absolutely could see that wick, just like we saw back here on Liberation Day. Look at that wick. And I showed you guys, if you watched last night's live show, that we only went below $2.02 yesterday for less than 1 minute. It was like a 30-second wick. Boom, boom, done. So if you didn't have your order, it was not getting filled. And even if you did have an order, it still might not have gotten filled because the order book was so thin. There's only so many people willing to sell at $2, $2.01, $2.02. So we went down, tapped it, less than 30 seconds, boom, back up to $2.02. In fact, we shot up to $2.09. Now we're coming back down based off the news. And like I said, it's going to take a big escalation. It's going to take a nuke. It's going to take the Strait of Hormuz getting shut down for XRP to go below $2. What comes out today? Iran parliament approves shutting down the Hormuz Strait, and the market falls out once again. But I'm worried about people that are going to be too greedy, getting too greedy, too scared, whatever you want to call it, waiting for XRP to go down to $1.50. You got some people saying XRP is going below $1. No, it's not. Not going to happen. And they're going to miss buying this dip. They're going to miss buying this flash crash because they're waiting for $1.50. They're waiting for $1.60. Instead of doing what I've done, you ladder in. I bought it $2.03 to front run the move to $2. I bought it $1.94 to front run the move to $1.90. And we didn't touch $1.90. We stopped at $1.94. $1.93, depending on your exchange, you might have a different price by 1 or 2 cents. The sellers are thin. There's a thin amount of sellers here. Despite everything going on, there's very few people that want to give up their XRP. In fact, there's public companies that are buying $100 million worth. In fact, there's public companies, when you add them all up, they're adding about $1 billion worth of XRP to their corporate treasury accounts. I'm not adding billies to the account, but I'm throwing my little bag in there. And like I always said, I'm using small leverage, 2.5x leverage on Coinbase futures with additional capital and liquidity on the sidelines. And I just keep setting those orders lower and lower. I won't be liquidated. Can't be liquidated. Too little leverage and too much liquidity still on the sidelines. So I'm 100% protected. And I know what happens. We're finishing up our passage through the storm. It's not a big deal. It is clear, blue skies and smooth sailing after this. Stablecoin legislation, market structure bill, big beautiful bill, make that money, printer go bird, drop rates, SEC versus Ripple case over, XRP ETFs go live, and the inflows start pouring in. And we're going to look back and look back at this moment once again. Wow, this is just like March 2020. This is just like FTX. This is just like Luna. I should have bought the Iran-Israel crash. It was another great opportunity to scoop up these assets on the low. And full disclosure, I just let my Discord group know this morning. I also just picked up a small bag of Axelar, AXL. So I'm finally in that one, my first purchase of AXL. But that's another, I told you guys I'm going to be buying utility based in America this week. So that was one of the first moves, along with my XRP Long being activated. Bitcoin right now, it's at 99,600. So a little dip below 100,000 for Bitcoin. We'll see where we close off today. And we're going to be watching to see where we get some activity when the futures markets open up. So come on back here later tonight. I don't know if I'll be going live or I'll just drop another update, but I'm going to be back later tonight after the futures markets open up and we get to react. We're going to be back in the game this week. It's going to be a big, volatile week. Probably going to hear from Judge Torres. SEC versus Ripple settlement, probably going to be agreed to. So lock in, pray, position your portfolio, and let's watch what happens here. Okay, I'll see you guys back later today on the way out. If you could like this video, greatly would appreciate that. Everything's at ZachRector.com. God bless you all. Stay safe out there. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.